Ever since the US rocked Baghdad, at the time one of the most defended cities in the world, with F-117s in 1991, Soviets and other potential US adversaries have been studying up on how to counter stealth jets. Later, over Serbia, an F-117 was shot down, forever souring the image of so-called invisible aircraft that have been on the top of the US Air Force's agenda for decades. Today, Russia and China have built out impressive arrays of very high-frequency and other integrated radars that can spot even the US's most advanced and stealthy jets like the F-22 and the F-35 under the right circumstances. While many have to rush to declare stealth a fruitless and expensive path for the US Air Force to walk, retired Marine Major Flatley told Business Insider just why pilots of America's most expensive weapons system aren't afraid of Russian or Chinese counter-stealth adversaries have to build a kill chain, said Flatley, a former pilot of the F-35. Just because a radar can find an object, and Russian VHF radars can spot F-35s, doesn't mean it can fix, track, target, and consummate that kill chain with a missile hit. We're not trying to prevent every aspect of that chain, just snap one of those links, said Flatley. So while an infrared radar could spot an F-35 and give enemy pilots an idea of where it is, it can't track it or target it with a missile. This means that the systems Russia and China have spent millions developing only provide a tiny glimpse of the F-35, which may be sunk costs in the grand scheme of things. I don't need to stop everything all the time, Flatley said of the kill chain. I just need to make you unable to finish what you've already invested tons of time and money and effort in trying to shoot me down. That's the thing people don't understand, said Flatley. They think we're saying we're invisible to everyone all the time at all bandwidths and energy levels. That's not what we're saying. Flatley says that F-35 pilots joke that only Wonder Woman has an invisible jet. The reality is that the F-35 is a huge piece of flying metal and alloy. A radar pointed at the right place at the right time will definitely spot it, but good luck shooting it down. Meanwhile, as the enemy shoots out radiation to scour the skies for any trace of the F-35, the F-35 sees all of those emissions and can pinpoint the air defenses and enemy planes. Where legacy planes had to choose between lethality and survivability on a mission, the F-35 can do 4, 16, or even 32 things at a time, meaning that while air and ground threats are looking for the stealth jet, the F-35 can already be dropping bombs that will smash them, according to Flatley. We're extraordinarily confident in what we believe the performance of this jet is, and we have a lot of data and material to back that stuff up, said Flatley. So while Russian propaganda may boast that they can see F-35s, it may just be a response to a platform that's rendered parts of their battle plan irrelevant. The F-35 was custom-built to penetrate the most guarded airspaces in the world and get the job done. While the enemy hasn't been standing still, and has made great progress towards countering the F-35, Flatley said he's still sure that the US can carry out its mission on its terms. The expectation is that the F-35 will operate in a scenario against air and surface defense systems, and that's an expectation that the American taxpayer and public should have, said Flatley, who acknowledged the incredible effort the US has put behind the F-35 as a stealth penetrator, and remained resolute that we're not going to waste it. No conversation about the world's massive political and economic changes since 2015 is complete without mentioning the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, developed by Lockheed Martin. That became even clearer thanks to a somewhat cheeky statement by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in response to Iran's provocative moves in the Persian Gulf and other threats from Tehran. Standing in front of an F-35 jet parked at an Israeli Air Force base, Netanyahu barely held back a smile as he said that Israel can reach Iran, but Iran cannot reach Israel. He didn't add the words undetected by radar, but it was surely implied. To understand why that soundbite with the visual backdrop was more than just bluster, you have traced the F-35's incredible history in the Middle East over the past 4 years. You don't have to be a military genius to know that a supersonic jet that can fly undetected by radar for hundreds of miles will make a difference anywhere in the world. But the F-35's already powerful impact in the Middle East was multiplied extensively during the months leading up to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. That was still more than a year before the jet was put into service anywhere in the world. But it was late summer 2015 when reports in the Israeli news media surfaced about how Israelis working on F-35 prototypes had managed to double the jet's flight and stealth capacity. It wasn't lost on anyone that the extension meant Israeli Air Force pilots could use the F-35 to fly from Israel to Tehran and back without detection, and without having to refuel at US air bases in Saudi Arabia or Iraq. Suddenly, US-Israeli air superiority in the region had risen to a new level. Saudi Arabia had already begun the process of cooperating more with Israel on defense and security matters for some time, something Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hinted at during a 60 Minutes interview after President Trump's election. But the idea of letting Israeli jets land and refuel in that Arab country was still a stretch in 2015. Iraqi leaders were also not receptive to the idea. But the new technology was now rendering the objections moot. The move only acted to bring the Saudis and the Israelis closer. It was one thing for the two countries to have a common enemy in Iran that was on the verge of getting billions of dollars and a clear, if supposedly delayed, path to a nuclear weapon. But with the new F-35 and its expanded capacities in the picture, there was something more tangible than political promises and intelligence sharing to hang their hopes on. All of that made it easier for King Salman to shake up his regime and name Mohammed bin Salman the new crown prince. Mohammed, who is aggressive on defense, wasted little time enhancing military ties with Israel and the US. There was even an unconfirmed report that he visited Israel secretly in September 2017. Yet the most direct effects of the F-35 were still to come. In July 2018, a Kuwaiti newspaper reported that Israel had flown a test mission of at least 3 F-35 jets to Tehran and back from an airbase near Tel Aviv. While never confirmed publicly, a good number of military and political leaders in the region believed and still believe the story. The long-rumored threat the F-35 posed to Iran now seemed like a reality. Earlier this month, reports in the same Kuwaiti newspaper said that Iran's military leadership panicked enough over the purported stealth mission that it kept news of it from reaching Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei. But when Khamenei found out about the mission, he reportedly moved to fire not only Iran's Air Force chief but also the long-serving and powerful commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. That's major impact without even firing a shot. All of this comes as Turkey's Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan has decided to choose procuring Russia's S-400 missile program at the expense of getting promised F-35s from the US, judging by how much his neighbors in the region fear and revere the F-35. This appears to be a ruinous choice. The impact of the F-35's development has had a major financial impact, as well. Since reports of the Israeli stealth enhancement first surfaced, Lockheed Martin shares are up more than 75%. The F-35 program is also the most expensive defense project in US history, and it has faced a long history of criticism for that cost. But considering how much the very existence of the jet has already achieved in Israel, Saudi Arabia and Iran, it may already be more than worth it.